CCOs. I'd love to take a few minutes to give you a walkthrough of the updated book list. There are some changes just in terms of layout and formatting, in addition, of course, to having new books included on the book list. So I'm going to show you guys the different tabs and their functionalities, how you will use them, and then I'll do a little bit more explanation in terms of ordering books for CCOs who are new or who need a little bit of a refresher about what that process looks like. So first things first, I have the book list DB open. This is our book list tab that all of our centers pull from. This is the one that everybody uses. There are different tabs across the bottom. The first tab that you see when you open the link it's called the Purchasing Book List, the Purchasing tab. This is a tab that is auto-fed from our master book list. That is the master book list is the one that contains much more information than what you would need to see kind of on a regular basis. Excuse me. So this purchasing book list is auto-fed from that, but it's filtered heavily. So there's a lot of information left off of this book list intentionally, so that you can see only the pertinent data that has to do with purchasing specifically. The data on this tab is sorted by the class. And so you can see here in column A, you have the class. This is laid out a little differently than it has been previously. That is mostly just so that we can get the sorts and the filters to do exactly what we want them to do. The class is, they have different kind of coding. So the way that the coding works is pretty similar to how it works on the SupplyDB. And so you have this first couple of digits, letters, LS, that means lower school here. So lower school, 4th grade, and then whatever subject it is we're looking at. I'm going to scroll down to show you some other options. Okay, this LS, LOE, this is lower school logic of English. So these classes, these logic of English classes are not going to be split out exactly by grade level. There could be students kind of in irregular tracks for this in the similar way that you would see for math. So those kind of have their own categorization as lower school LOE, logic of English. You will also see LS for specials. The specials are all grouped. There's more information this year for the specials classes, so that you can find what it is you're looking for a little bit more easily. Math, all of math, including kindergarten here at Becca K5, at Becca 1 and 2, and then they're in order after this based on just like the alphabetical. So they're not in order in terms of like grade wise here, but they're all categorized as math, all of these math classes. And down here where you see NPKK, that is nursery, pre-K, kindergarten. That's what that abbreviation stands for. So anything in that age group will be categorized that way. And then anything upper school will begin with upper school, electives, professional development, Cambridge Latin, etc. And I've broken them down also with that, U.S. upper school history and literature. And then you have the name of the course: classical history, 7-8B medieval history, advanced American government and economics, etc. So that's a little bit how the book list is set up. This first tab, the purchasing book list. This tab aligns perfectly well with your ordering sheet, your book ordering sheet, which I'll get into in a minute. So purchasing tab, that's the first one. The second one we have down here, this is called the new and updated book list. And now sometimes this one is also auto-fed. It's filtered heavily, just like the purchasing book list. It contains basically all of the same information as the purchasing book list contained, but it is organized in a different way. And so over here, you'll see this column J. year added or year updated. This is where we're getting the sort for this sheet. And so everything that is in the recent years, we have started to keep track of when we added a book to the curriculum or removed a book from the curriculum. And so for the books in which we have that information, so the past few years, we've got that written here in column J, in this column. And so this sheet is sorted by column J. It's sorted by the year that the book was added. This is particularly important when you offer a class, maybe not every year, maybe you're offering it every other year, or if you have a smaller upper school, maybe every few years even. And so when you know, okay, well, I have not had, a particular class since 2023-24, you can go back into this tab and look for the years that you didn't offer it. So say it's a class you didn't offer, maybe just on a fluke you had no kindergartners in 24-25. Then you would go back to this new and updated tab. You would see, okay, well, here's kindergarten, here's 24-25 kinder. All of these books would be something that you would need to add to your book order. And then you would do the same for 25-26. Here's 25-26. And we would see, okay, well, the only thing new this year for kindergarten will be that we're updating this tutor resource manual for that class. So you would also add that. So this is the same basically as the purchasing book list, just sorted in a different way to be more user-friendly for CCOs. The next tab down here is called the removed or updated book list. This one is also auto-fed from the master. It is also filtered heavily, and it is sorted by year. It's also sorted by column J, but these are books that have been previously pulled from the curriculum or are being pulled from the curriculum this year. So these materials are things that most of them you are going to collect, recycle, or donate or sell. Some of them are things that you might continue to, you could give them to the tutor to include in a classroom library. But they are things that we're not going to distribute in a normal way. A lot of them are things that we really don't want to be using in the future because they're either outdated or we've selected a different program, something like that. There are a lot of CCO notes on all of these tabs. You'll see that sometimes there is a purchasing note, or there is a CCO note. Here's purchasing notes in these couple of tabs, CCO notes in this particular tab. These notes kind of give you an indication about what to do with a particular resource. And so if you have books like this, Story of the Church, this was phased out last year. If you have this book still at your center, this is the wrong edition, this particular one. This is an edition that we replaced with a new version of Story of the Church by Philip Campbell. But if you have this book still and you have space to store books, you can keep it in the classroom library or your center library, just as if somebody is interested in reading a book like that. So there are a number of books that are kind of marked in that way. If we mark them that way, that means that we really think that it would be fine for you to keep it or good for you to keep it. These Seton readers are going to be phased out this year from second grade. They're great. Please keep them. If you have the space to keep them, please keep them. These are good readers for our kids. So if there's no note, that's fine. You can kind of just decide what you want to do with it. But that's a little bit about what this tab is. This will be particularly important at the end of the year when you're starting to do book distribution. And you are kind of, it's a lot of books to keep track of when you're distributing books. And it's much easier if you have on hand a list of books that are being phased out this year. So when your tutors are checking in their books, you're not automatically checking out all of the same books to the next tutor. You know what to pull. That's the Remove tab. And then the next tab, this one is called the Coding and Distribution Book List. This is a different sheet altogether. And so this is kind of been a tricky thing in the past. The reason that I created this sheet and made this an option was because there are occasions in which we would purchase a bundle, for example. All of these math classes actually are kind of like this, where we might purchase a set of books in a bundle, but the bundle that's one item you buy, but maybe there's 4 books in that bundle. We need to be able to code each of these books properly. And so for all of these, high-level math classes, we purchase them in a bundle. So trigonometry with geometry, we can look here at the purchasing trig, at the purchasing book list, and you can see that, well, let's find trig again. Let's go to the right row. Okay. Here on this purchasing book list, we have 2 items, a calculator and this set. This is a bundle. So when you need to purchase this set of books, it's the first time maybe you're having students in this higher level math, you're going to purchase the bundle, right? It's got everything you need and it's at a better price. It says $277.55, but it's probably less expensive than that. That's just the list price. This is a bundle. It's got a lot of materials in it. And so that, however, we don't want you to code that as one item. We want you to code that as all of the items that are included in that bundle. And so back on the coding tab, this gives us a lot more information. All of those items that are included in that bundle are listed out here. And so, oops, don't replace, please. So we're on the trig. We've got, in that bundle is included the Advanced Math Homeschool Packet. This is one like little sleeve. It's part of a 2-book packet. We've got the Solutions Manual, that's a different one. The Student Textbook, that's a different one. The Test Forms is what it says. It's included in the Answer Keys and Test Packet. That's a different one. And so these 4 things here are part of this bundle. We want them to each be coded. And so you're going to see over here the code for all of those items. And then, of course, the graphing calculator we saw. So the way that they're listed on these different tabs is intentional. It's for a reason. I'm going to give you one other example of LOE. So Foundations, Logic of English Foundations. We have some materials in the Foundations courses that they're going to be, the students have readers, right? So they'll buy a set of readers. The tutors will be given a set of readers. On the purchasing book list, that is included, readers. It is included as one row, one line item here. This Foundations B readers is what you'll buy. When those come, then you will look here and you have Foundations B reader, Compete, Pick a Pet, Fred the Frog, Kids Just Want to Have Fun. All of those books, there's 8 books in this set. All of those books will have a separate code. So that's how those work, just to kind of give you some more context. And you can see I did include a link so you could see if you are unsure, like, which set is this? I ordered that set and, oh, that's not the set. Oh, I'll have to check. I think I left that off. But that's kind of how those work, in terms of having the different coding sheets from the different, from the purchasing book list. They're separate on purpose. The current book list, that is the next tab. Okay, this particular tab, this has a lot more information. It's much, much less filtered. There's really very minimal filtering on this particular tab. This only includes current books. And And so it's got all of the individual line items for things like the readers, for example, that are, so it's got all of the readers because they are current in the book list. It's got the codes. It also has all of the line items for things that would not be on the coding sheet, but would be on the purchasing sheet. So like the readers, the line to purchase. This book list also has all of the books that the families are required to have. This is mostly just for information. If you want to see kind of everything in one place, you're welcome to look at this. It's got the CCO notes spelled out, all of the purchasing notes spelled out, all of the notes for parents spelled out. It's also got year updated, year removed. The year removed column here is going to be blank the whole way because it is only including things that are current. So this will be empty. And then the last book list is the master book list. This is the one that our curriculum team is using. It's got even more information. It's also got books that are out of the curriculum. This year we're not using. So this is really just for us. You don't really need to be in this particular book list. But the other book lists are purchasing, new and updated, removed and updated, coding and distribution, and current. Those are the ones that you might be looking at. The big ones that you'll use the most often will be the first four. So that's a little bit about the book list itself. I am going to show you how to do some purchasing. There are a few really important sheets that you need to be able to reference throughout this process. So I will kind of show you some of those things. We've got this helpful document, Book Ordering and Distribution Procedures. I'm fairly sure that this is I think it's on your quick links on your task list. If it's not, we'll make sure that it's definitely on your task list. The first page of this is just a list of those different book list tabs and functions. So everything that I just told you is kind of spelled out here at a glance. So if you're unsure of what to use a particular book list for, one of the tabs, you can reference this. The next section here is ordering books, getting ready. And so ordering books can be a tricky process, especially for centers that aren't offering every class every year. It's much simpler for centers that offer every class every year, but that's really not, the majority of our centers don't fall into that category. So you'll want to have your book list open. You'll want to have another important tab open called the list of courses. The list of courses is a document in which your CCE or your RME is tracking all of the different classes that your center will be offering in a particular year. You can see, this is the list of courses. You can see on the bottom down here that every center has a tab. Excuse me. This is an important tab because it kind of shows like a history of what your center has offered. I'll go to Omaha. We can just look at Omaha. So on the Omaha tab, you can see the names of the courses here in column C. You can see some of this other information. What subject is it? What grade is this course usually offered in? And then you can see the history. And so did this center offer a particular class in this year, 21-22? What about 23-24? What about 23-24, 22-23, 23-24, 24-25, and then next year, 25-26. So these are all filled out with yeses or nos. This is a little bit, it's still a little tentative, up in the air. We have to still send out the placement emails, and that's important for high schoolers. Some will opt to take maybe the slower progression of some of the math classes. They'll take trigonometry with geometry, and the next year they'll take pre-calculus. Other students might want to take an accelerated course. And so some of the course offerings are a little bit up in the air. And then in addition to that, if you have enrollment changes, if you have students who are applying to the program, they'll take placement tests. What classes we can offer them is going to depend on what they need, what our staffing looks like. So these yeses and nos are not set in stone right now. You just need to work really closely with your CCE and your RM to make sure that you are making updates when that is needed. So that is the second important document. So book list DB, list of courses, and then the last document you're going to need is your own center's supply order, your book and supply order tab. I'm going to open West Valley's simply because they're a newer center, and it'll be a good example. So we're getting ready to place our order. I'm not going to read this whole thing out to you, but I suggest before you even start ordering, read through the ordering books, what to order section. That is going to be kind of your most important piece of the puzzle to figure out how to do this. So typically we would say, look at the list of courses, and kind of just start there, right? West Valley's is not filled in, but I did look at their, yes. I did look at their staffing sheet. So I'll do a couple of the irregular ones for you. So for West Valley, they didn't offer the 7-8B courses, the 8th grade courses last year. They only offered the A courses. So this year they're going to be offering the middle school courses, the 4 core courses for 7-8B, so the typical like 8th grade track. That's going to be the first time they've ever offered that particular class. So what they're going to do, let's find the book list. Okay, we're going to go to the purchasing book list for that. I'm going to do a Control F to find 7-8B. Okay, and here we are. So we've got medieval history. These are all of the different books that they are going to need in this class. This is medieval history. So I'm gonna grab those rows, right? The easiest way. You can see on the book order itself that it tells you what to do. On the purchasing book list tab, copy the entire row, click the row number, and then Control C or Apple C, depending on what kind of device you're on. And then you will paste the row onto this tab starting in column F right here. Control Shift V or just Control V. Filter, fill out the quantity, leave any notes you need to leave. So we're going to go back to the book list. We are going to grab medieval history and we're clicking the row number just like it says. These are sorted by class on this purchasing tab. So this all is medieval history. This is all they have. This is all they need. I'm going to hit Control Copy, and I'm going to go back to this particular tab, the 25-26 book tab, and I'm going to do Control Shift V into column F as indicated on the little direction, and you can see that it's going to copy everything over perfectly aligned where it needs to be. So that's a little bit how you would grab something for a class you've never offered. You just grab everything for that particular class. If there is a class that you have offered before, but maybe it's been a little while, that is a different situation. So we can let's look at the book list. And I'm going to go to the new and updated. Now we're kind of making things up. So I'm going to delete these from our order later. But we'll say that I'm going to scroll down. So maybe, maybe the last time this center offered grammar and composition for the ninth graders. Maybe the last time they offered that class was in 22-23. And so it's been several years since they've had that class. They need to make sure that they're purchasing all of the books that have been added to that curriculum since then, after that point, that last time they offered it. So we're going to say, okay, well, in 23-24, Grammar and Comp added these 3 books. So we'll grab them, we will add them, Control-Shift-V. Then we will check in 24-25 for that same class, Grammar and Comp, upper school. It looks like there were no books added to that curriculum that year, so that's fine. We're in the clear there. And then we'll go to 25-26 and look for upper school language arts. Grammar and Comp 9. Okay, they're going to need a new tutor resource manual this year. So we will copy that and add that also. So here we go, and Control-Shift-V. And that will get them up to date, right? That's going to get them everything that they need from the last time they offered that class, which was several years ago. That's an important note. For some of these classes that are going to be new for everybody, you're just going to grab all of it. And so classes that are new for everybody. Here we go. For example, all of these Logic of English classes, you're going to probably be offering all of it. It's a lot of line items. There's a lot of duplicates because those are things that are going to be ordered for multiple classes, some of them. And so you're going to just grab everything Logic of English. If you have lower schoolers, you're going to offer all of it. So we'll grab that, and then we will put that in here. So that's kind of how you do a little bit of that. Something to note, it doesn't spell it out like this on the list of courses themselves, but this year we have kindergarten, so Logic of English. This is new for everybody, so this is important. Logic of English for everybody. All of our kindergartners are going to be on Foundations Level A. First graders and second graders and third graders this year are going to be all on Foundations Level B. And so that means that you're going to need 3 sets, likely 3 sets of those B materials. We're not grouping those kids all into one classroom with first through third graders. We don't want to do that. If there's a situation and maybe your enrollment is really low and that is something that you have discussed combining a couple of classes for that hour, second and third grade maybe, that's a different conversation you can have with your regional manager, your CCE. But generally, centers are going to staff each Logic of English level with its own tutor, even if this year, for example, there are multiple grades worth, multiple classes of students taking the same level. So for Foundations B, that means that you're going to have several sets of students. You'll need to order several sets of all of these. And so we'll grab that and we'll paste it, and then we'll paste it again. Because they're all going to need the same thing. Let's see. Wear and tear. Obviously, I know y'all sent emails about the wear and tear. Add books that the tutors needed to have replaced. You can add them here and there, even if they're not. If it's like a book that a class you have offered, whatever, you will grab that information. If it is just a random book, kind of, you would grab that information from the purchasing book list and just look for the book itself. Look for the class that it is offered in, and then find the book that you need to replace for a particular staff member. Another thing to be aware of is when you have classes, there are a few books in the curriculum that are used, between multiple groups. So, for example, First Form Latin, sixth graders use it. The seventh graders also use it. Sometimes at certain centers, those classes get staffed together, so it's one staff member and teaching both sections of that, or teaching a combined section of that class. Don't order an extra set of books if you don't need it. So if you are aware that that is something that is happening, don't over order. The same thing happens pretty regularly with the math classes. Trigonometry with geometry, accelerated trig and pre-calculus, these three classes all use the same book. These three classes, these calculus classes, all use the same book. So if you have never offered two sections, maybe you're offering trig and accelerated trig for the first time. If you're offering multiple sections of a class that uses the same book and the tutors are different, be sure to get them each their own set. There's no reason for them to share in a situation like that. Check editions, book editions, that's important. That we did quite a few updates in terms of making sure that we are listing out the correct edition on the book list. And so some of these areas are, they're like really important that you have the correct edition. You'll see oftentimes in either a purchasing note or in the coding note that you need to be sure that you're using a correct edition. You can also look at the current book list there if you have a question about that. But some of that is very important. I think that's a pretty general walkthrough about how this process looks and kind of what you need to do. If you have questions, you can send them to me. I'm happy to answer. If it is regarding the book list, if it is something specific to your center or anything like that, definitely speak with your supervisor. And if you have any questions that are related to ordering specifically and like less book list, more ordering, Erin Ford is your girl. She can help you out. Hope this is helpful. We're really excited about the book list, and this is just kind of the first phase in like making this be more functional for us, for you guys in particular. And so I hope it's helpful. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you so much.